Just a reminder, today's conference is being recorded.
Yeah, hello to the XStepCafe. Together with me is already Sue and Laurie from IDEX and Peter from Abbott. So, Peter, you're today in Ludwigshafen still, and you're planning to go to Chicago, was that?
Yeah, at the weekend, or let's say currently, we do have a blueprint phase in MES or in supply chain, and one of the topics will be how to implement within SAP or within other systems an MES system. And there will be, one of the topics will be the advantages of PI sheet handling and XStep handling, or attaching, let's say, other systems like POMS, Rockwell, Verum, XMII, and so on.
Is SAP ME a topic in Abbott? Because medical devices is also, I've heard, some target industry there.
It's not yet, or I didn't hear about this topic.
Because from Visibrise, they also have some foothold, I think, in medical devices. I'm not sure how strong that is.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of internal competition going on. I guess. Between
actually, I did not see an example for the discussion about ME, what ME can do, how it can help us, and the topic.
I'm not an expert there, so I think we have to leave that out.
Okay.
Because if I tell something wrong, so that's maybe not good. So.
Okay, but if you got somehow, let's say, an ME presentation going on anywhere, let me know.
I mean, I can pass your contact to somebody from the ME team if you want.
That would help, of course,
sure.
because it's always interesting to get the newest approaches in.
Sure.
Yes, and SAP just had a day-long, or actually it was 2 days, at Newtown Square, and they did a presentation on SAP ME back in February, because I attended that. So they have plenty of materials. If you don't have anything, Arnie, I have the link to that presentation that I could send as well.
Okay,
this would help a lot. Currently, the meeting in Adobe is not yet started. Is it correct, or do I have?
I'm just about. I just wanted to get everybody rolled in, and then.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
Because currently we are changing our computers, and sometimes I have a problem if the address is correct.
Okay. I think let's get the show rolling. So, hello everybody. I'm not sure. I have to accept some of those people here. Peter, you will also accept it right now, so hopefully that is now okay. So, I'm starting to share my screen. Before I do that, just a brief word on what I'm doing today. Today is pretty interesting because last month, the EhP5 finally got general available in ERP. So that means I can raise the curtain, because I had to be silent in this unofficial blog thing which I'm doing. This is not an official SAP council here, so I was not allowed to talk about anything there, really, about new stuff in ramp-up. But now ramp-up has ended, so anything, it's all official now. So I'll intend to just show you what's new in EhP5, and I think it's pretty nice. Okay, so I'll just start share my screen, and hopefully that will work, because I have a new computer, and hopefully that is working right now. What do you see in a PowerPoint presentation right now?
Yes.
Yes, great. So
I have an old computer, so I can see it.
It's looking a little bit different than usual, but we see a lot.
Okay, so I'm in presentation mode anyway now. So I've got two presentations, so two topics. Well, maybe it's three, but two of them I'll cover in one slideshow. So first I'm doing slideshows, and then I'll jump into the system to give you a little bit of insight. Not a real full-blown demo, but you will get the ideas, I think, there. So first one is PI sheet enhancements in EhP5, and let me just. It's not working. Okay.
Is this PowerPoint downloadable?
I will create posts in my blog with PDFs.
Okay.
So just wait a few days, and then we'll bring them out.
Thanks a lot.
So the first one is archiving of PI sheets and electronic work instructions, which, of course, you know PI sheets, what they do, so that's in the objective. But customers which use the electronic batch record, they can archive and delete the PI sheet data, so get rid of all the old data, which clutters their database in many years when they use it. However, all the customers who are using either the new electronic work instructions for PP, where we don't have an EBR, or those who did not want to use an EBR for one or the other reason, they could not archive and delete the data until now, right? So the business benefit is quite clear. So by actually archiving and deleting the data, you improve or ensure the performance by reducing the database size or keeping the database size rather at a normal size. Of course, although it's not a real full-fledged EBR which you will have there with the archiving of PI sheet, it's still the same object that you know from the EBR. So for you who don't know what the difference is, an EBR also contains other documents like order documents or inspection lodge documents, so that's not included there. So it's just a plain PI sheet archive there. And it's available in the Business Suite i2010, which is also known as EhP5, Enhancement Pack 5. You can archive, delete objects, you can display the archived objects, and there's a downport available, which I already mentioned. So maybe something is not entirely new to you, but since that is now generally available in the current release, I will repeat this again. I'm not sure. Did I handle that archiving stuff already? Maybe I did, but maybe it's also good to see it again. So
I can remember that you mentioned it, and it was the reason why we applied it even to 4.6.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you did it. Yeah. But it's not available for 4.6. I think it's not possible there.
Yeah, but you can download it and you can apply it. We are running it currently with a version which we got from SAP.
Okay, good. Well, anyway, so that's the old process. So you can you create, release order, you process your PI sheet, and you complete the order, and then you archive the order and delete the order, but all the remainders remaining intact, of course. And of course, you don't have even the reference anymore to these old objects once you've deleted the order. The new process should look like that. So after you complete your PI sheet, you can archive the PI sheet and delete it. Of course, you can display the archived PI sheet anytime, and after that, you can, or you should only then after that you can archive and delete the order. Of course, you can also archive and delete the order before, but you shouldn't do that because that should be the proper workflow here. A little bit more in detail what the different steps are and the requirements. Of course, you need an order where no EBR is required, because if you've got an order with EBR required, you should do the normal steps with EBR. PI sheet, which is completed or discarded or cancelled, you will need. And then you've got, I will show this later, you've got selection. You can directly archive or do it with background store and schedule. And it's a little bit more detailed, the workflow here. Yeah, here I've got some screenshots, which will be in the presentation I will upload in my blog, maybe next or the week after. So there's one transaction, which is the general entry point here, which is called like this. And then you've got several options depending on what you need to do. Two of them are specifically for background running here. And these are the screens, selection screens. They are pretty complete, I would say. So you can have a lot of choices here. You can even select by entry of period of days, like how many days these are now have been completed. Also, test PI sheets can be archived, which is also not possible with EBR. That's also some addition here. You can use status schemas here. You can, and then you either select a flag like that, and then you immediately do the archiving for all the objects that are within this selection range, or you get in a grid selection screen where you can really select, okay, I want this, I want that, and then you press on this button, and then you trigger the archiving. Yeah. So that's the archiving part in the foreground, and of course this is the similar thing when you do the background processing. Of course, you first need to get into the first option here and save a variant there, so that you can use a variant here, and then you do the usual things. You can see in the spool what happened with all the log, what has been archived successfully or not. So that's the archiving, and after the archiving, the situation in the CO60 is like that. You see the PI sheets. So before you have deleted something, you see the PI sheets with the status archived EBR. The reason for that was we didn't want to create a new status there, so we just reused the one which was already used for the EBR. So don't be confused. It's either a real EBR or it's just the archived PI sheet. Right. Of course, then the object, the PI sheet, is completely locked. You can even not do any comments, of course. So it's really only for viewing.
Arne?
Yes.
And I think it's a different style sheet.
Yes, it's the usual style sheet of the EBR.
Okay.
You already know how an EBR looks like, but I have some slides there as well later on to see what are the differences there. I'll come to that. Right. There are some slides about the display. So after you've archived, you can display these elements. There's one section here which is specifically handles some selection parameters for the archiving process itself. So who has archived and when was it archived? Then you get an overview, and there you have a specific special column here which indicates whether this object is still in the database, so that if there is an X, you can still view it in the CO60. If there's no X, then you can only see it with this transaction. Then that's what you meant, Peter. So that's how it will look like. So anybody who's not familiar with EBR, this is pretty new to him. So there's an additional phase container, if you want, which is just an overview. So it's not a real phase, of course, which gives you all the general comments, an event log, all the deviations that happened with hyperlink to jump to the specific point where the deviation occurred. Then things like, you see here deviation history. When you open up this, you see all the details here. Also, for each phase, there's an event log for the phase. And especially tables are pretty complex to handle because, of course, there's no way to get a pop-up for additional information here because it has to be all in one single document, which has to be displayed all at once. So you need to have all the information available in the document right away. So that's why everything like deviations or comments in the table need to be referenced somehow. So you've got something like comment, and there's in brackets line, the line number, line 2, which means this one, and text in is just the header of the column. So you see, okay, this must be this cell here, and there's a comment, and you can open up this, and then you see what kind of comment has been entered here. Same with signatures and deviations. And also validation rule is here. Yes.
One additional thing, we thought at the beginning that you would have a chance, once you have archived it, that you later can change your style sheet to have a specific look and feel, but you have to have a specific style sheet before you archive it in the layout of the process order. Otherwise it won't work. We checked it, and we had an OSS call, and we were talking with Uwe, and so once you think you have to have a specific, one thing we did not want to have all the faces are as one line, and you have to open it with a left-hand side triangle. We wanted to have it open immediately.
Okay. Okay. So you just need to review what's how it looks like, and then if you want to have another style sheet, then you need to create change it.
Yes.
Before you do it.
Before you archive it. Otherwise, you have no chance because somehow it's archived together.
Okay. Right. Deletion is pretty much the same as archiving in terms of the workflow. There's also this archiving specific stuff here in the selection screen. Also with the selection screen, if you don't bypass it here with this flag there, that's also background process is also the same here. And of course, what the ultimate aim for this is that you get rid of all the data in tables and in also the documents here, the XML documents before deletion and after deletion. You see that before you had the XMLs, after it's empty, and also all the POC underscore DB underscore whatever tables they will be cleaned up. So that's what this shows here as well. Right, so that's the first enhancement in the area of PI sheets and next steps, of course. Any questions from the audience on that?
Arnie, I have one question,
yes.
And it's really not related to EhP5, but we do use COEBR to archive our EBRs. The deletion part of this is something that we're not currently doing. Do you know how the deletion of EBRs is activated? Because we use COEBR to do the archiving.
Actually, that's an interesting question. I didn't think of that.
Oh, good. I thought it was a stupid question. So there.
No. So it's not there in the workflow for the EBR to delete?
Not that I know of. But I'll go check while we.
Interesting.
If you want to keep going, I can go check. But not that I'm aware of. And that's what part of our issue. We're going to be having to delete because of their tables are getting quite large. So we need to.
I need to relog on here. Too bad. So let's.
I'll go to our.
Try.
It would not be an enhancement pack thing, would it? It would just be a CO.
Generating display. Yeah, you're right. Interesting. Yeah, maybe that's then still something you can use there for EBR. I'll check with somebody and
that would be great.
And maybe post it also with my article later. Okay, good comment.
Hi, this is Ahish.
Yes.
I have a question.
You're from which company?
I'm from Becton & Dickinson in New Jersey. The last time, I think maybe last couple of years when we had discussions with you around solutions for EBR for electronic work instructions, and you had mentioned earlier that the, SAP in future might come out with EBR for electronic work instructions. So whatever we see now with EhP5, is that the solution, or SAP is going to come out with a separate?
The question was whether we have an EBR for PP. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Is it going to meet those requirements, or is it still in the process of being developed for electronic work instruction?
So, of course, what I showed right now is of course already a solution for a sort of an EBR style. So, if, for example, if you're fine with just that, if all of your information is in the PI sheet, then that is already a valid EBR, I would say. Yeah.
Okay.
If you have, however, additional information like inspection lot data or other data which you have to have in the EBR as a real object entity, then it's maybe not enough. So depends on your case.
Okay.
So technically, I would say, or I talked with developers, it would not be a very big effort to also make EBR available for PP, but there's currently no plans for doing that. So I don't know. Maybe with customer development stuff, you can apply for custom development, and of course have to pay for it if you want to get this. That might be an option for you, but.
Yeah, the last year we had discussions with the SAP development team on co-developing EBR for electronic work instructions, but somehow the SAP came back and said it will be released to general public maybe a couple of years. So because of that reason, we hold back on that, and we had proceeded with the process manufacturing with the PI.
Yeah. You have to have review that archiving stuff. Maybe that's already something you can live with.
Right.
So.
We can take a look. Right.
So let me just briefly just go into the system, just show you the transaction live. I'm not planning to do the whole thing right now because I think it's pretty much straightforward. But let me just get this. So that's the transaction here. Here's the selection, and when I press execute here, I'll just for this one I focus only for tests objects. I press execute, and I see all this data, and to compare it with the CO60, I'm just doing pretty much the same. I'm just excluding all these things which are already archived or still in process. So terminate discarded or completed. And it should be the same list, and here you go. It's the same list here. I have to sort it here the same way, so you see same data here, and it's pretty much it. If I'm just pressing this, then it starts to archive. So that's it. Let me just 5854. I just copy this here, and now let me just that was this one here. It says completed, and now I'm doing the refresh, and it should now be. Now, of course, it's out of the list because I included the archived EBR stuff, so it should be visible somewhere here. 58. Well, I don't find it right now, but it should be there, right? So, and display archived objects. I hope it worked with my. It. So that was the number. No. Was it the number? I'm not sure. Anyway, let me just do it like that. You see a lot of PI sheets, and let me just try one here. Display from archive. How it looks like. Oh, okay. Wrong style sheet here. Let me take some else. Maybe that one here. Yeah, that looks better. So, well, not a big one, but you get the idea. Right? So that's the archived PI sheet. Okay. Any questions on that? If not, we'll skip to the next topic.
This is Agish. Can you enable full screen option? Again, I think I'm seeing a very small screen from.
Well, what you can do, there's one button in your interface which says scroll or 100% or something like that. If you press that, then you get the portion in 100%, and it follows my mouse. And I think that's also a good way to view this.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I've got now a pretty big screen, and till well, hardware is approaching, and people might get also bigger screens. I thought it's okay to record it now in that resolution. So also with the landscape mode, you can get these screens side by side, which is also quite nice, I think. So right. So that's that was this one, and the next one is the cross-plant repository and language dependency. So I already talked about cross-plant repository before. Let me briefly get something done here. And I want to show you what we did there. So what was the objective here? So cross-plant and language dependency, they a little bit go together, because what you face if you have a global rollout is, of course, you want to reuse your XSteps that you have created in your first implementation for other sites, and then of course you need to have a cross-plant repository where you just create those standard XSteps in one repository that you can reuse them in different plants. And obviously, if your plants have different languages, you want to have some means to make one object, one standard XStep with different languages that you can use for different plants with different languages. So that's that's good to have. And before, of course, you had to have even with a cross-plant repository, you needed to have for each language one standard XStep prepared, which is of course not very convenient. So that's new. The cross-plant repository, there was a pilot node there available, which I already presented before, and for in EhP5 there's also the language dependencies. I imagine you get you will have the question whether that could also be downgraded to any other release, and the answer is no, because there's really too much we had to do. We had to change, so that's not an option. If you want to have language dependencies, you really need to upgrade to. It's not an upgrade. It's just an enhancement pack. You need to install. That's the business function you need to activate here, which is mentioned here. And one important thing, and I already mentioned this once, and also maybe later on, is the language is flexible until the point where you really create a PI sheet. Once the control recipe. Once the control recipe is created, and the trigger language there is which user is used to create the control recipe. So if it's a job, which is the language of the job user, or if you do it in foreground, which is your language you've set, that is the language that is taken for the control recipe, and then it is fixed. All the elements then are taken with that language, and it's not you will not have a PI sheet which you can log on in a different language here and there and get the different translations. Yeah? So that's really important to know. But still, in terms of master data management, it's really a huge improvement. Right, we've got some customizing here. So for cross-plant repository, there's one transaction to set a reference plant, and I explain later why we need that reference plant. And for the language dependency, you have one transaction to add additional characteristics which you want to have translatable, and one transaction to set a preferred standard language, and that's also something I explain later. So first, cross-plant repository, pretty obvious. So that was the old situation. You had a repository for each plant here, and you could use those standard XSteps only in a routing or recipe in that plant. There was no other way. There's also plant-specific customizing, and one topic here is, for example, the process message categories that you maintain also per plant. And those are also available here in the repository, and that's important for what I explained in the next slide. Pain points I already mentioned, I think, so I go to the next slide. So that's the new situation. You've got the cross-plant repository. And the thing is here, of course, the standard XSteps you can use in several plants now. But you have to define a reference plant because in the cross-plant repository, for example, when you add a process message element, the system needs to know, okay, which process message categories I need to show to the user that he can choose of. So and that's where the reference plant comes into play. So in that case, all the process message categories are presented from that reference plant. This, of course, means you really, if you want to use a certain standard XStep with, for example, a process message inside, you need to have that process message category also in every other plant which you want to use that standard XStep with. And of course, it should really be the same. It's just, I mean, if it's the same name, it will work, but if it has a totally different functionality, you might have a problem. So that's important to make these things work. Also, for example, if you are using specific control recipe destinations, which I don't recommend, I've said this before already, but if you want to do that, of course, then you've got the same situation. The old plant-specific repositories, they will still remain valid. So you can use these links in recipes or routing. They will still work. Of course, it's not a good situation. So from time to time, you can just migrate all this stuff into your cross-plant repository. Of course, you can choose to create folders for your different plants to have where you put your really specific plant-specific elements in, and you can use, of course, the export and import functionality to do this migration stuff. Okay. Next thing, language dependency. So these are all the text elements. So we went through all the elements in standard XSteps where we had the feeling that these need to be translated. So these are namely folders, standard XStep description and text, XSteps, parameters, instructions, groups, output elements, input elements, and input elements. There are different things like description, the fixed. If you have a default value which is fixed and it's a string, then that is also something you need to translate. Also the warning note there as well. Also something like if you've got a fixed text characteristic in a process message, of course that might also be needed to translate. There are some things, some objects which are a little bit special. These are the one with the red asterisk here, because these are objects which have two text elements which need translation, and they sort of go together. So if you choose to translate one, the description, you really should also translate the text as well. If you don't do that and you leave that text, for example, in English and you translate it in German, then the English text is also taken as the German translation, which is, of course, a little bit confusing then. That's for technical reasons we had to do that. Okay. Right. What you need to do for preparation, set the preferred standard language, and come to that later. Check or adjust the translatable characteristics. If you have, for example, an additional characteristic like Z underscore something, which is a text characteristics, then you might consider to also put that there if you need to do translations there. Okay, this is the process, and I will demonstrate this. So maybe I don't go into detail here. The visibility of the translation. So where do you see this? All these things is first in the design environment. So that is in the SXS repository, in the recipe and the routing, in the order, and in the PI sheet. However, again, in the PI sheet, it's really fixed. If you have, and I will show that side by side, if you've got, for example, in the SXS repository a translated object, and you enter it in English or in German in the same time, you've got two different sessions open, and you see it really in the same one session. You see it in that language, in one session you see it in the other language. So that's really in parallel. You will see that. Also, if you have an order where you have used an SXS and you've exploded it, it's still really if you enter that same order with the exploded SXS in a different language, you also see the translated elements. So that's until there, it's really flexible. Okay. There is also, and that was in SP1, which is not really relevant now because that's already past the SP1. We have also a translation overview. So really to be able to check, okay, what is my status in terms of translation? Because there is no real translation tool, so where you can really get all your different elements and then edit all the text in one go. You really have to enter the SXS library. First, you enter it in one language, you create an element, and then later on you enter the SXS library with a different logon language. And then you just change the text, and by changing the text, you create translations. That's how it works. And here you can, by right-clicking on an element, here or even below, you get this additional menu item, which is called Display Translations. And then you see this list. So you see all the different elements which are, I think, below that node here, which you can see here. And you see the language, you see the text here, sometimes you see characteristic, and what is also nice, you see here a flag which says translation missing. So if you're logged in a specific language, and that language is not maintained for a specific element, you have a flag here. And I think now it's set up in a way when you enter this menu here, there's already a filter by default which filters this list, and it shows you only the flagged lines. So if the list is empty, you're good. All things are translated in that language which you are logged on. It does not mean it is translated in all the languages that you have. So be careful. Okay. So now I'm coming to a little bit more complicated concept, but during the development, we figured out that we need an object, and we like that, and we called it preferred standard language. And I'll explain it with an example. So what you see here is a setting for the preferred standard language, which is here not set first initially, and here you see the table entries internally. So it's does not matter where this really is. It's just for visualization here. And you see three PI sheets with in three creation languages. One's in German, one's in English, one's in French. And initially, you created that in German. So yeah, you have logged in German. You created an element. For example, this is a long text. Yeah? Created the element, and that's the German text. Please add 10 grams. Yeah? So this is and this first line here means this is the technical language. That's the language you had before we had this new development. So there was only that, and these fields have come together with this new development. So that was sort of the situation we had before. So, and of course, if you create a PI sheet with that element with different languages, you see the same text. Yeah? So that means, so if a text element is not found for the current language and no desired default language is maintained, then the technical language is chosen, as you see here. Okay, next. Now I have added a translation in English, and then I see it. If I log in English, I see this element in English. Yeah. So now I have, and that's the reason why we put it. So many times our customers, they have a sort of global normal language that they want to keep their stuff in. So probably it's English, maybe it's Spanish in some other areas of the world. So in that case that I'm demonstrated here, maybe the default language should be English, but somebody has just started with a new standard XStep, and he just did not pay attention maybe, and he was logged in German, and he edited just his text in German. Or in English, but he was logged in German, so then you would see English text, but internally it's the German language. Yeah. So what you can do here is by defining English as a preferred standard language. In that case, yeah, in contrast to that situation here before, now in French you see the English text instead of the German text. Yeah. And that's a huge advantage. So thereby you can really make sure that you always have your preferred standard language maintained, and then in any language where you didn't have yet a real translation, you at least see this standard language. Yeah. So that's the big advantage here. And and that's the last point. Of course, if you then enter your French text, then you will see it in French. Okay, so that was my presentation. Any questions until now? No?
No.
So, then I'll just show it. No?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So the language that the PI sheet is creating is the language of the user which releases it. It's not the language of a plant or something like this.
No. It's the language in which you are logged on when you create this text element in the SXS library.
Oh, okay.
Hmm?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we have a job which generate our PI sheet, so we need to create a job.
Yeah, in that case, of course, you need to have a job for each plant, or at least for each language, so that you can select all those plants with the language of that job user. I can handle with that job, and so. Of course, if you have normally you would use a global job for all your plans, then you should reconsider and split this up.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I'll do this. All right. Okay. Okay, I'll log on in a different language right now to see a difference. Since I'm German, I understand German, so I do that in German here. Okay. So now I've got two screens here, and let me just show you here where you find also the new entry, that is CMX SVN. We decided also to change that one here, I think. Yeah, the normal transaction has a flag here which you can set, and if you set it, then you also have the same effect. So that's also something to know. Okay. So enter the cross-client repository in both screens here. I've got a small example here, nothing fancy, which I open slowly here in two sections. So you see that one here has no differences because I didn't translate all yet. So I'm just exploding that here a little bit further to the very end. And here you see there's a difference already. Yeah, so you see that's a text example for translation, and here's a German text. Yeah. So it's the same object which I have here, really, and it's in two different sessions. Here I'm logged in English, here I'm logged in German, and you see different text. Yeah. Also, when I click here, it has English text here, and when I click here, it has a German text here. So that's already what you can see, and I can also just enter new translation here for these ones here, for example, or maybe I'll just first show you this menu, display translations, and there you see it is filtered. Let me just go a little bit further here, further up. You should see some. Oh no, it does not show any deviations here because I'm logged in here in English, and all the texts are in English, so there's nothing to do. So all is fine here. Now I'm doing the same here, and hopefully that will work here now. I should see here one line which says, okay, this element here is not yet translated. You see it here that I entered this in the text to mark this also as English text here. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting this into change mode. I'm double-clicking it. I'm changing it to DE and there. I guess some shouldn't do errors here. Okay, so that's the new text here, and just by overwriting this text, I created a translation. I'm saving that, and it immediately also updates here this view. Here, see, this is now gone away, and what I can do here, I can also remove that filter, that default filter, and then I see all the different languages here. So these are all the different languages which are maintained, and you see they are all German, English, German, English. Yeah. Okay. What I also did here is, and I think I put this in that one here, in that other example. Of course, that also works for an external system example. So I've got here. Let me just open up this as well. So I've got this one here with characteristics in English, and here I've got it in German. And what I used here is a custom characteristic, and only the first one here I entered in the customizing transaction. And I will show you the customizing transactions right soon after here. And this one with O1 I put in there, so it's going to be translated. And you see here I've got different texts here. But the second one I didn't. So that's what. Whenever I change it in any language, it's just changed. It's just one field only. Right. So that's also something to note. I don't make a demo or example with this preferred standard language right now because I think the slides were pretty much could pretty much explain it. Any question in this screen before I go to the customizing stuff? No? Okay. Then I'll just enter it here. Maybe I'll try to find them in the in the IMG. Hopefully I find them easily. So production planning, process management, execution steps, standard XStep repository. Yeah, there it is. Okay, you see the reference plant for cross-plant XStep repository. It just gives you all the plants, and you just have to select one. So it's pretty simple. So that's the reference plant. Translatable process instruction characteristics. Here are our default ones, and here are some additional ones. And if you want, you can also remove these default ones. So we didn't block that. So if you have good reasons to say, okay, in this case, we just don't want to have this maybe confusion about translated elements, you can also remove it. So it's up to you. And another really simple one is this one. So that's the preferred standard language, and I set it to English here. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show. Any comments? Any questions? Is it useful for you?
Right now we are only using PI sheets in English, but there is a plan to extend this functionality to our facilities in Europe in the next year or two, so it might become useful.
Okay, good.
Yeah, same with us, Arnie. So we are planning to roll out in 2012 for the Europe region. So once I think once you have EhP5, it will be useful for us for the Europe implementation.
Good. Peter, for your plans, you're already pretty much global, are you?
Usually we are maintaining it in English, but it could be useful for, let's say, Portuguese in Brazil, or for example, in Singapore we have English because it's an English environment, but if someday it's planned to implement it in China or somewhere else, could be useful to have additional languages, or in Germany, of course.
Okay, good. And do you like the concept? Is something missing for you, or?
I can tell you only once I have tested everything.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I also show some example right now. Maybe I can do that as well. I can just create real quick a process order. Date. Okay, I'm going to the XSteps, and I remove all this stuff here first. Create a new one. Check that one here, which I just showed to you. Save first. Okay. Then I'll change it here and create control recipe for test. So you see, I'm in English here now. Example for translation. So that's English text here. I save that. I'm taking that number here, and don't know why this happened right now. Okay, 3. Go to the XSteps here, and now you should see. Yeah, you see, although it has been created here, I still can see this in the translated version here. However, the control recipe I just created is really fixed. I'll demonstrate that very quickly so that you really see it. I'll send that. Okay. Oops. The Mac does not always as I'm used to.
It's very interesting. Are you working on clients with Mac right now?
I've got a new Mac, yes, but the SAP GUI is not. There's no GUI for Mac, so that I'm working in a Citrix environment with Windows. Yeah,
okay.
With the okay. Show this here, and you see, so the PI sheet itself is really the same in both. It's English both ways. In the order, even in the order, you had the difference. There you could see the translation, but here it is fixed. So that's really something you need to really remember. Okay, so that was it. Yeah, we're pretty much through with our time, so I'll would like to finish. But before I do so, I'm planning for the next session. I'm planning to invite a colleague, also for you, Peter, to show this function module with which
That's
you can
great.
create new XSteps from within a PI sheet on the
That's
fly
great.
if you want. Yeah. So that's what my plan is for the next time. So stay
That's
tuned. Okay.
Okay.
I may have a quick question on data maintenance on the quality client and moving it to the production client. Is there any way we can move XSteps or say the master recipe with all the references of XSteps to the production client? Is there any function module or is there any standard way SAP suggests?
Unfortunately, no. So the only standard way we can offer is the export-import stuff.
That is with respect to the XSteps. What I mean is, once we develop our master data for the master recipes in the quality system and assign all references in the quality system and do the testing, then if it works good, we plan to move it onto the production system.
Yes. I know. I've asked this question really very often, but we don't have a real good answer to that. There are customers who use iDocs or own created iDocs to transfer recipes from one system to the other. However, there's no object for XSteps there already. So that's also something you would need to add there. I'm not sure how complicated it is to create new iDocs. So my recommendation always was to do the testing with control recipes in the productive system, and then go do it from there. I know that's not perfect. I know, but
right.
that's the only thing I can really.
Okay. The issue is that we cannot create a production order in production system for the testing purpose. So that is one of the questions we have from the business group. Is there any solution around that? So, okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Annie.
You're welcome. Okay. Any more very important questions? No? Okay.